You're listening to Fat Cat Radio, a family of hosts playing the best local music, raising the bar one note at a time.
Fat Cat Radio 247. You're live in the mix. I'm your host, Twism White Peace, and today we've got an amazing interview with a content creating machine known as Xander Dames. Xander, my man, how are you doing? I've got you on the line here. What is good with you today?
I'm freaking isolated, Twism. Like, this is crazy what's going on right now, man. Like, I'm going freaking stir crazy cabin fever, man. What's up?
Nah, man, I'm feeling the same way over here. Thankfully, I got a backyard, man. Hopefully, wherever you're at, you've got some kind of exit path out of the four corners. So,
dude, I got like a box of a backyard back here, man. I'm like dying. I'm like, get me out of here. And I'm in California. I'm in SoCal to make matters worse.
Oh, so that sun is just brilliant and lovely right now too.
Yeah,
right?
But nobody can enjoy it, you know. I mean, because SoCal is like a hotbed right now.
Yeah. The same here in Ontario, same Toronto, right? Toronto, Ontario is just ridiculous right now. There are so many deaths and sicknesses that are like on these model forecasts and things like that. So, like, for your area, are they projecting any kind of devastating numbers, grim outlook, or is it still a positive note? Or
well, right now what's going on is that it's basically at this point the numbers still keep on climbing. We're projected to hit the peak in mid-May. That's the projection. But so far it seems that a lot of people are actually adhering to the guidelines of staying in. It's kind of eerie out here, man. I mean, you know, you think about Los Angeles because I live in the LA area, and you think, you know, like it's always moving. The 405 is jam packed. People have been taking pictures of the 405, not a car in sight. It's like
a Walking Dead.
Seriously, it's so eerie because, like, you know, I mean, we're complaining about traffic, and now when there's none, we're kind of scared. We're like, this is weird. Yeah. And, you know, the streets of Hollywood Boulevard are very bare. Rodeo Drive is completely empty. Like, I had a buddy of mine take a picture because he works on Rodeo Drive in Beverly Hills, and it's like he took a picture because he works at a deli there. Yeah. So he's an essential worker, and he took a picture. It was empty completely.
That's wild.
You know, some of the stores that carry like high-end jewelry have been boarded up. I'm telling you, it's almost like you said, it's almost like a Walking Dead scenario. Yeah. You know, everything's like boarded up. It's so eerie out here, man.
So for you, you know, being in the mix of all of that, how do you feel? You know, are you the kind of person that's like, man, I wish I could get out here and document this and be an active part of the front line? Or are you one of those guys that's like, you know what, man, I am very cool staying right here and creating the content that I create here? Because, you know, there's a lot of different content creator styles out there, and a lot of we've seen an increase in a lot of people wanting to be storm chasers of the whole COVID-19 thing. So where do you stand on that aspect?
I mean, you know, for me, I have to think about, because I take care of my father. And my father, he has underlying health conditions. Gotcha. And I can't risk his life. He's an extremely high risk person to get infected and probably would not survive it. So I stay in for him. I stay in for my father. I'm not, you know, I mean, if I were by myself and I didn't have the responsibility of taking care of him, it'd be a different story. Maybe, I don't know, because I also now it's starting to hit people that don't have underlying health conditions. I mean, honestly, I'm not even sure if I have any, to be honest, but I don't want to take that risk either.
He's like, I don't want to put myself in a situation.
God no, man. I mean, it's crazy because the way it goes, it hurts from what interviews I've been reading about, listening to, watching. It's not the type of virus that you want to mess with. It's not. Yeah. It's a lot. Like the process, it's really bad. I actually just interviewed, you know, this very incredible artist. Her name is Dovely, and her mother is a COVID-19 survivor.
Really?
And yeah, she actually just survived the virus. She's actually still getting over it. And from what she tells me, her mother had a fever for 3 weeks. Imagine having a fever for 3 long weeks
That is just
and
crazy.
not being able to speak to your daughter, not being able to see her. She says, I haven't hugged my mom in a month. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
as simple as a hug. You can't even touch the person. And the thing is, from what she tells me, from what she said in the interview, is that even after she stops having the final symptom, she
Yeah.
has to wait. The doctors say 72 hours. Some doctors say 72 hours. Some doctors say 7 days after the final symptom, just to be on the safe side. So she still has to
That's
wait
wild.
even after that to be able to like say to be near her mother. I mean, this is insane.
And you're talking about a change in the way we live our life. I mean,
Completely.
when you can't even hug somebody for a month and a half at a time, I mean that takes an emotional, a mental toll. I mean, there's so much more that goes into it, just other than words that say, "Oh, you didn't hug somebody." You know what I mean? So
It's just that. I mean, we take a lot of little things like those for granted,
exactly.
and in a sense, this time that we're like, I did another episode actually talking about the silver lining of this virus, and
Yeah.
it's very simple. The silver lining is many things. One
Okay.
of which is taking the little things for granted that we usually would, not
Exactly.
even think about, like going to the park, going for a
Mm.
hike,
Yes.
little things like that we usually it's not necessarily that we take for granted, but we take it lightly. We're like, oh, we can do this all the time. Now we can't.
Yeah.
And these are the things that when all this is over, we need to appreciate more,
Yeah. Yeah.
interacting with one another, interacting like these kids. This generation is so into texting one another, even when they're in the same room together. But that was before they had, before they were like, oh, I get to see this person every day. Now they can't see their schoolmates or anything like that on a daily basis because schools are shut down.
Yeah.
So now they're gonna appreciate, hey, I finally get to go ahead and see you now. Like, not just text you in the same room, but now I get to see you and play with you again.
Exactly. Exactly.
All these things
Yeah.
that we take for granted, dude. This is definitely, everybody's focused on the negative. They need to focus on the positive, which is, the things that we take for granted. The earth, I mean, there's not that much pollution. Like,
How it
scientists have been.
recovered for a minute.
Exactly. Like the earth is healing itself. In Italy, there was an article that the reporters wrote saying that the rivers where the gondolas usually are healing themselves. You could actually see the fish at the bottom of these rivers because there's no gondolas around.
That's
So,
amazing.
these are all proof that man has a serious negative impact on this planet.
So are you pro Earth? It sounds like you're one of those not to say fanatic, but just to say adamant in the fact that man is destroying the world.
Not, I mean, I'm not like Greenpeace or anything like that, and
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not
yeah,
like
yeah. You get where I was going. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
exactly.
I'm nothing like that. I'm just an observer. I'm an observer, and I'm a logical thinker.
Right,
Obviously,
right.
it's logical that if man, uses our natural resources, there isn't going to be much left,
Yes,
for the
yes.
future. And it's just the proof is in, you could see it yourself with your own eyes. I live in Los Angeles, one of the, well, it used to
Dirtiest.
be. It used to be. We've actually helped out a lot, but it used to be back in.
Yeah,
God, I've lived here all my life. I was born and raised in Los Angeles, and
right.
I was here, when pollution was really bad.
Yeah, yeah. I
And
bet. Right.
so I mean, the proof is that the more people actually help to not pollute the earth, the you're gonna see it in the skies. You're gonna see it by breathing the air. You're gonna know. I mean,
It
people.
has after effects that you
Of
you, you
course.
can identify with easily.
Of course, and it's one of those things where, again, I'm not a fanatic. I'm just an observer. I can see it with my own eyes.
Yeah.
So that's the bottom line there.
So my thing is in the mix of all this, we've touched base a little bit on your feelings regarding, pandemics and everything like that. But where do you sit at in your view of life? A lot of people say, I've heard different theories. This is actually a good thing for us. It's actually going to help us. I've heard other people say this is going to hinder us. This is going to harm us. Where do you think, once this is all said and done? Where do you think we're going to fall back onto the balance of things? Do you think like, after this, is there going to be some more wars? Do you think people are just going to go back to fighting? Or do you think we're going to actually maybe progress because this action showed us somewhat of a worldwide unity? Where do you see us walking out with this at?
Well, to be honest with you, it's, I use this word, and it's so funny that I use this word because shortly after I used it, everybody started using this word. Granted, I'm not like some huge celebrity or anything like that, but if I would have been, trust me, I would have coined this word.
He's like, I would have patented it real quick.
Oh, totally, because everybody started using it. I'm like, hey, I started that whole word thing.
Right.
I actually used the word reset.
Okay.
That the world needed a reset.
Okay.
And because the thing is, at the end of the day, we've bickered so much with one another. We've greed has been the driving force.
Yes.
And it's so bad that we needed this moment to reset and rethink and, reevaluate things, about the world, about ourselves, about everything. And I think it's actually done a lot. It's actually helped a lot. How we're going to come out after this, that's yet to be seen. I honestly have no idea. It could go either way. It could either be really good or really bad, because unfortunately, human beings, there is no gray area.
Yeah,
And it's either one or the other. And I wish there was. I mean, I'm hoping there's a gray area. I'm hoping that it'll go halfways. But as far as wars are concerned, that's always going to happen. There's just never going to be peace on Earth. There's always going to be one side that's going to think that that they carry the bigger gun than the other, and they're going to try to wave it around. Right. It's just going to continue. If anything, right now, with our current administration, and I don't like getting into politics really, but in our current with the elections coming up in November, there's going to be a lot of right now is this current administration's real test to see how they can handle a huge situation like this.
Crises.
And right now, the world is watching. The world is watching, and they know that the world is watching. So we'll see come November how exactly that's going to impact the elections. And it's crazy because before this crisis started, we were about to be in the middle of World War III.
And that was kind of what I was leading at, because before this thing had started, we were in the mix of some real world, seriousness. And that's kind of what I was asking, like kind of where I was leading with that is, do you think that we're going to go right back to that? Like
it's a tough one to call because it has to do with oil.
It
has to do with Iran.
It's an
Russia.
ongoing, never-stopping situation.
It's going to be a very difficult one. I mean, right now, again, this virus, in a sense, that's one of the other silver linings, is that we were about to, World War III was about to ensue. Yeah. And thanks to this virus, they stopped focusing.
Peace.
Yeah, they stopped focusing on that. They're like, dude, how can we fight a war if all our soldiers are sick and dying?
Yeah, exactly.
How can we fight a war for a country if we don't have a country to fight for, actually?
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that after this is done, there could be peaceful negotiations between these two factions. And, I hope that this virus somehow, some way makes them realize, what, life is too short to go ahead and be fighting over. Like that. Be fighting over this stuff. So that's my hope. Those are really high hopes. Those are
well
really
said,
high
though.
hopes.
That's well said. I like it. I like the way you was like, this is what I hope to see. I mean, I can't, don't want to quote anything, live or breathe by quotes nowadays,
Yeah, because it's one of those things where I don't know what they're thinking. I don't know where they're going to be at. I don't know if they're still going to be greedy enough to continue on with this. But money is one of the biggest seducers.
Motivations, man. Let me tell you,
it's one of the biggest seducers that any man can go ahead and not be able to say no to.
Control. Yeah, right. Exactly. All right, so let's kind of take a step backwards for a minute, man. You said you was born in Los Angeles, right? Mm-hmm. Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm. UCLA Medical Center, baby, Bruin from birth.
There you go. There you go. Is a way to shout it out. That's so. Now, did you go to college there? What was your schools? The whole. How did that play out for you? What was your childhood like growing up? What did that ensue for you?
My childhood was really like I was very fortunate that I grew up in a household that was not the richest in the world. We were actually blue collar family. My dad was a truck driver slash mechanic. My mom was a
Uh,
homemaker.
yeah,
She basically is the one that raised me because my dad would be traveling a lot and
of
as a
course, man.
truck
He had to
driver.
get the money, right?
Exactly. And
Yeah,
but the thing is that we didn't have much in means, but we had a lot in love.
I
And we were
gotcha.
very
I gotcha.
united. We were very united. I was raised in a family that granted my parents would fight a lot. So that actually, and it was always about finances and a bunch of stuff, but my parents would actually fight a lot. But it was one of those things where we still stayed united. That was the one thing
Yeah.
that my mom she always preached, was staying united. Actually, my mom was, like I said, my mom was the one that raised me, and she was I was very close to her. I lost her actually in 2016,
Oh, so
and
sorry to hear that, man.
thanks. Thank you very much. And it was one of those things where it really impacted both my father and I.
I bet.
And I was actually afraid for my dad, because the reason why I take care of him is because my dad's half paralyzed.
Gotcha.
He's half
Gotcha.
paralyzed from a stroke that he suffered back in 2007. So I was very scared for
So he
him.
had nobody. That was his caretaker, pretty much.
Yeah,
It's
well,
it's yeah.
we both were his we both are his caretaker. I mean, my
Okay.
mom, she took care of him while I ran the errands. I had
Gotcha.
a
Gotcha.
job, I was
Yeah.
putting food on the table and everything. And then when she passed, I took over the mantle of that.
Gotcha.
And I'm an only child, so and it's crazy because when they were both sick, I was still going to school. I was actually in my final year in college, because I actually I man, I fooled around. I fooled around a lot, and I'm really stupid for that. But at the same time, not really regretful, because it was a good, awesome time in my life. In high school, I've been in journalism since I was in the ninth grade.
Nice.
And yeah, I've been doing this for years. And
Yeah. Yeah.
since I was a kid, I went to college. I went to a junior college, and I went into journalism there, but I couldn't do it because they were, in a sense, yellow journalists, and I couldn't do that.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
They were always looking for scandal from from a certain group,
Some
and
hard copy
it
journalists.
was bad. It was so bad. I'm like, dude, I'm not gonna do this crap. Are you kidding
Yeah.
me?
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
me. This isn't who I am. I'm here to to showcase the
Inform
truth.
and educate. Yeah.
Exactly. I'm here to showcase the truth, not look for scandal, and not look to badmouth somebody.
Right. Right.
Unless it's
Right.
something hugely serious. But what you guys are looking for is something like
It's
it's
just
just
some petty
juice.
dirt. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just juice. I'm not a tabloid, So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
left
Yeah.
that. I had a lot of strong criticisms about the instructor, and it's actually funny because I ended up working with her daughter at a restaurant about a year later, and I was like, oh, that's your mom. I'm like, oh my god.
That's
Yeah,
great.
suffice it to say, me and that girl, we didn't get along too well because I didn't like her mom
I
very much.
bet.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, I quit school actually,
Really?
and I got into real
Was this the
estate.
last year? This is the last
No,
year? No?
no. I actually I quit school. This is back in early 2000s.
Oh, okay, okay,
Um,
okay.
and I quit school. I got into real estate. And in real estate, it's so messed up because I got into real estate right when the boom hit. Real estate just started going downhill. I was barely able to sell a house. So that was all bad. So a few years later, I was a Hollywood club promoter actually during that time. Yeah, I've done a lot of stuff, man. I was a
I was
Hollywood,
just going to say, man, that's a heck of a resume already in the
yeah,
first three sentences.
dude. I was a Hollywood club promoter for over 10 years.
Yeah.
That was actually making me a lot of money, and that was an interesting time in my life because I got to see and do a lot of things that I could barely remember.
I bet.
Um,
I
you
bet.
know,
I bet. I bet. I
you
bet.
know, I partied with a lot of really cool people. I partied with actually Kid from Kid and Play. I used to party with him.
Oh,
Uh,
nice.
I used to party with Shifty, the lead singer from Crazy Town.
Okay.
Partied with a lot of adult superstars.
You there?
Yeah, I'm here.
You there? You cut out for a minute. Yeah, you
Yeah,
cut out
can
there
you hear
for a
me?
second. Everything okay? Yeah,
Yeah,
I can
yeah.
hear you. You said Shifty from Crazy Town, and then you said what?
Yeah, I was partied with Shifty from Crazy Town. Partied with a lot of adult female stars.
Oh,
That was cool. They used to come to
now,
the club a
were
lot.
you a bouncer? Were you a bartender? What was your role in that? You said
No, I
you
was
were
a
a
club promoter.
club promoter.
Yeah,
Okay, I just make
yeah.
sure I remember promoter. Okay.
Yeah, we were. I was a club promoter for over 10 years, which is really cool, but it kind of sucked at the same time because I always said that being a club promoter always takes a piece of your soul. You have to be
I
a real
bet.
jerk.
I
And
bet.
it was an eye opener because the way they treat people is really badly. Like they're very discriminative. They're very they're very Hollywood is a very well. I'll just leave it there because I don't want to
Entertainment.
badmouth
How
Hollywood.
about
Yeah,
that? Just
it's
entertainment.
it's tough. It's tough. It's a very tough field to get into.
Yeah.
But I left that because right around that time, I actually decided to go back to school and got my bachelor's degree. And I went to a school called Ashford University down in Southern California.
Okay.
And, I got my degree from Ashford. I got my bachelor's degree in journalism and mass communications with a minor in marketing. And I graduated
Congrats.
I graduated magna cum laude.
Oh wow, even better. That's like what, third, second? No, first, second. Yeah.
Second. It's great honors. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
right before Summa, and I was like literally a GPA away from Summa cum laude. So I was like so close to it. I was so
He's
angry
like,
that
you
I didn't
couldn't
get it.
just miss a day, like give me an extra day or
Oh,
whatever.
man, I was so angry, man. One of my classes
Extra
was
credit
gave
course
me,
or something.
dude, I was so angry. One of my classes gave me a B plus, and I was like, no, that's screwed up my GPA, you idiots. I was so pissed. But it was crazy, but because it was the last 2 years of college were actually the hardest because that's when my mom fell sick.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Trying to balance all that.
it was crazy because it was like she fell sick and she got diagnosed with a rare form of ovarian cancer towards the end of 2015. Actually, the beginning of 2016, January of 2016, she got diagnosed. But towards the end of 2015, she started getting sick. But in 2014 is when her health issues actually began. But she hadn't gotten diagnosed for cancer. She was actually it was a weird situation because she was actually they tested her for everything and she was fine. Like they tested her for everything. She had nothing in her system. They actually were surprised that a woman that hadn't seen a doctor in in damn near 2 decades was actually in great shape.
Yeah,
And they sent her home in 2014. They did because she was going through some stuff, so they fixed her up, sent her home, and then like midway through 2015 she started becoming ill out of nowhere, and it was a very weird thing. We didn't understand why this is happening.
Just just nowhere, just changing, huh?
Yeah, it was the strangest thing. And it was I was actually gonna graduate. I graduated in October of 2015.
Okay.
And it was the strangest thing because we actually traveled down there. Somebody took care of my dad because it was for a weekend. It was like a weekend event. Okay. And we ended up traveling down to San Diego.
Okay.
For my graduation. And when we were traveling down to San Diego for my graduation, I had the weirdest feeling because we took a train down there because my car had my car had broken down at the time.
Right.
And we took a train down there, and as we're going down there, I had the strangest feeling that this is going to be the first and the last trip I was actually ever going to take with my mom.
Really?
And it was the strangest thing in the world. Strangest thing in the world. I'm sorry, Tuzum. I got.
Take a moment.
No, I'm sorry. No, it's not about that. Somebody's at my front door and they're talking to my dad, and they're not supposed to be here. Like it's weird. I'm sorry.
If you need a moment.
I'm sorry about that.
No worries, man. No worries. Yeah. Dude, family first, obviously. You know what I mean?
No, and then like weird people just decided to come and knock on the door. I'm like, you do realize that we're on a lockdown, right? Why are you visiting my dad?
Yeah, exactly, right? There's a lot of those scammers out right now, man. Let me tell you.
Well, no, this is actually a friend of one of his buddies or whatever came and saw my dad and just trying to check up on him to see if he's okay because they hadn't seen him. And it's like, well, duh, of course you haven't seen him because they're trying to practice social distancing. Think about it, guys.
People still don't get it yet. Man. It's crazy. It's crazy. Anyways,
so I was actually going in school, and I was in school. I was going through all this stuff, and I still was managed to graduate on stage. Yeah. My mom, she went with me to my graduation. She wasn't feeling too good. She was actually kind of really not feeling well at all. She was in a lot of pain. She wasn't holding anything down. She couldn't even go to some of the events with me down there because it was a whole weekend of graduation events, and she couldn't go to any of them with me. She stayed in the room the entire time. Then finally, when graduation came, my uncle, one of my dad's best friends, I call him Uncle because he's he's known my dad since childhood.
Gotcha.
He went out there and helped her out while I was down in the stage. We graduated in Viejas Arenas from in the San Diego.
Yeah,
it was the arena for San Diego State University, and it was a huge arena. And our ceremony was held there, and it was awesome. I graduated on stage. She got to see her son graduate on stage with honors. I wear the yellow honor sash. For magna cum laude. And when we got home, because our uncle, my uncle, drove us back. And when we got home, my diploma had been delivered because it's actually separate. When you graduate, they don't give you the diploma right then and there. They actually mail it to you. To make sure that you
at least get it right.
Well, no, what they do is they want to make sure all grades are turned in. There is no outstanding balance for tuition because otherwise they keep the diploma until you pay the outstanding balance.
Gotcha.
I was under student loans, so my stuff was already good. So comes up, and when we get home, my diploma's right here waiting for me, and I open the box up because it was in the FedEx box. I open the box up, take it out. And I look at it for a second, and then I hand it to my mom, and I'm like, "Mom, this isn't mine. This is yours."
Rock on! Congratulations. That's well played.
I gave it to her. She started crying.
I bet.
She started crying, and she looked up at the sky, thanking God, and she said, "Thank you, Lord, for this wonderful son that you've blessed me with. I thank you so much." And that was probably the best gift I could have ever given to my mom, and this is literally 5 months before she passed away.
That is crazy.
She got diagnosed. She got diagnosed January of 2016. She died March 6th of 2016.
That is just wild, man. Wow.
So, and I just from here I just started taking care of my dad, and a lot of things changed. A lot of things changed when she passed, and it was one of those things where I had a plan, and plans changed like they do all the time.
As they do all the time, right? Mm-hmm. Exactly. So in the mix of all of this, with situations going on with your mom and the graduation of college and the struggles that, it took to even get to the point of graduating college, and, your father and everything with his sickness and where was there any person along the way other than your mother, obviously, a lady friend, a confidant, anybody, any role that was filled there, on the connection end, or was you always just solo dolo during this whole thing?
I was always, to be honest, I have friends. Romantically, I haven't been in a relationship in years.
Okay.
Because I date. Don't get me wrong, I date. But I just, it's one of those things where I just don't feel, I'm at the point in my age where I need to find myself somebody that I'm looking forward to spending the rest of my life.
Compatible with long term, right?
Yeah, and the thing is, I haven't really been looking because I've been so focused on getting my career going because everybody always says money isn't everything, but it does help a lot. And
it does.
If you notice that a lot of divorces, they're mostly divorced because of financial situations, statistically speaking. And that's one of those things where it's like you can't say money isn't everything because it helps actually, because you're not going to be you're always going to be fighting about bills and things like that, and that's part of money. And why put yourself through it? I remember that when I was a kid, there were times that my mom would tell me, that I wanted a gift, and my mom would be like, I'm sorry, you know, I mean, this Christmas we can't give you anything because, you know, we're kind of, dad's going through a lot of tough times right now, trying to find a job, this, that, and the other. And the look on her face when she would tell me no was really heartbreaking. It was more heartbreaking than I would imagine her seeing the look on my face when she said no.
Right.
And I don't want to go through that with kids. Like, I don't have any children, and I do one day, but when I do, I want to make sure that I have enough to go ahead and be able to not say no, not spoil them, mind you, because I want to make sure that they understand that. Yeah, not spoil them.
I got 5 kids, and let me tell you something, boy. It's healthy to say no on a quite frequent, regular basis too.
Oh yeah, so. You know, you pick and choose your battles. You know, you pick and choose them. You know, and it's one of those things where, you know, I would still, you know, make sure that they understand the value of money and everything, because that's something that's lost on a lot of children, and they need to. Yeah, they need to understand it. Like, I was taught the same way. You know, I didn't have much, but I was raised very well. I was very wealthy in love and very wealthy in knowledge, thanks to my parents. That's you know, so that's why I'm just like, you know, I have really great friends that were around me. You know, actually, you know, my friend Angela, she's been a really a big influence on me. Love her to death, though sometimes she could be very controlling, and sometimes it's like she tends to be like a mom. Right. And it's like, dude, I have a mom, and then after my mom passed, I'm like, I had a mom, I don't need a mom. You know, I'm kind of old, you know, like, I don't need you to be my mom, I need you to be my friend. So, you know, there are issues there, but I still love her to death. You know, she's always had my back for many things. She's always had my back, and I know that her intentions are always in the right place. I have my childhood friend, my buddy Drew, that I've known since the 10th grade. That guy is like my brother. Known him since the 10th grade. He's always been there for me. I mean, my dad, when he suffered a stroke, it was in North Carolina. It was in Charlotte. And Drew, at the time, my buddy Drew, he lived in Raleigh. He drove all the way from Raleigh down to North Carolina because I actually went to go see my dad because of this, you know, of this issue that he had, and I was scared because I thought I was gonna be, you know, seeing somebody that was gonna die. But it turned out
you never know what to expect, right?
Exactly, and I was flying over there, and I hate flying. I'm terrified of flying. I'm actually scared of the taking off and the landing. The in-between part I'm okay with, but you know,
it's the in-between part that's actually the worst.
I know, that's the reason why I'm terrified of it. So you know, and I had that on my mind, and then, you know, like, I was gonna go see my dad because at the time he was dying, but then I had a layover in Utah, and that's when they gave me the good news that they saved his life. So I was in higher spirits. But still, I was devastated. And Drew, he knew this, man, and he drove all the way down from Raleigh just to spend some time with me. And we hung out in you know, for about a good hour or so. And he's like, dude, come back with me, man. We'll go ahead and party. You know, we'll have a good time. We'll get your mind off things. You know what, dude? I love you for offering, but I
gotta be here.
Yeah, I gotta stay here just in case any, you know, God forbid, any emergencies or anything. I gotta stay here near my dad. You know, that's my responsibility. So, you know, but that was really cool of him to come down and do that. And like that, he's always been there for me. Another two people, you know, that have also been there for me has been my friend Jeremy and his wife Joni. Jeremy actually he played the little brother on Growing Pains. He played Ben Seaver on Growing Pains. Yeah, he's
really.
He actually became one of my really close friends. Again, he's also like a brother to me as well.
That's so cool. Rock on.
And it stemmed actually from his wife Joni. Joni was the one that introduced us back in 2011, because Joni used to come to the clubs. And you know, the first time I met Joni, I was like, wow, she's really cute. She's you know. And but we got to know each other, and it turned, like, you know, she became more of a sister. You know, and I, like, every time she came to the club, I always treated her like VIP. I always watched her back. And eventually she told me, it's so funny because she told me, she's like, you know, she told me that she was you know, she has a fiance, and that he's kind of a famous guy. I was like, really? I was like, dude, it wouldn't faze me, if you told me who he is. I mean, I lived in Burbank, and
I've seen
Burbank,
famous people too, right?
yeah, like I partied with famous people,
Right,
I
exactly.
actually went to high school with a couple of people that were on television, so whatever you tell me is not going to
Nice.
faze me, Eventually, she introduced me, and I was like, oh, dude, that was one of my favorite shows back in the day, And
Yeah, right.
we actually hit it off. Jeremy and I, we have turns out we have a lot in common. And I was like, dude, you used to live there? Oh man, that was like right down the street from me. And yeah, we hit it off very well. And
What's so wild? Real quick, not to interrupt or anything, but I got to interject this at this moment, man. What's so wild is that with the new Netflixes and the Primes and everything, my kids got to watch that series, that show, that whole show, from start to finish. They kind of even binge watched it a little bit, right?
What, Growing Pains?
Yes.
On Netflix? Where's it on Netflix?
I mean, I can't. I don't know if it was Netflix, if it was Prime.
Okay.
I can't remember which one it was, but I'm just saying on one of these streaming platforms, my kids sat and they watched it, and they watched the whole. And they were talking to their mother, my wife, about it, and of course she's really big and she loves the show, and it was just so wild to be like, you guys are you're really watching that? Like I used to watch that. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's so crazy. And then to hear you talk about this is even more wild, man.
Well, back then, man, and I hate to sound like an old fogey here, but back then, television was it had quality in it.
Yes,
I mean,
television
really taught you lessons. I mean, you go from Growing Pains, Facts of Life, all these 80s programming, into the 90s, you had Full House, you had Boy Meets World, Family Matters, Step by Step. You had all these shows that actually gave quality. They actually gave you a sense of, okay, these are life lessons that kids can really get into.
Situations you could relate to, right?
Exactly. And so they were great quality, but yeah, man, Jeremy's a stand-up guy, one of the nicest people that I know. So is his wife, Joni. They're both my family. When my mom was in the ICU, Jeremy and Joni came and visited her, and he basically reassured.
That's incredible, bro.
He reassured my mom that he was going to be here for me, that they were both going to be here for me. And it's a little bittersweet that my mom, she even had a celebrity come and see her.
That's why I said that's so cool, man. Because you talk about this like it's just it's nothing to you. It's just, I mean, not that it's nothing, but like it's just so second nature, second place. You understand what I mean by that? Like it's a regular thing for you. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I guess maybe that's the aspect of, fangirling in some specs, like,
no, for sure. And, it's one of those things where, like, with me, I just look at it, from a practical point of view, because I'm a very practical person. I'm like, you know what? They're just regular people like you and me, I mean, I guess again, maybe because I was born and raised in this city of entertainment.
You're used to it, for one.
I'm used to it.
Second of all, you managed to get through that pre-layer that is always like a stigma around people of anywhere. Like, I don't know you, so I don't want to know you. You know what I mean? And then you take the time to actually get to know them. You find out they're not what you thought they were. You know what I mean? So
yeah, exactly. I mean, don't get me wrong. There are some that are complete jerks. I mean, I
bet.
Dude, I had an event. I actually partied with Chris Jericho.
Really?
Yeah,
the wrestler dude, right?
Oh yeah, yep. Chris Jericho, former WWE.
Is he cool or not cool?
He is the nicest. He is the nicest guy
really?
you'll ever meet. Yeah, nicest person you'll ever meet. Really, really friendly. Really nice guy. But he did have a friend of his that was attending his party. Also, he was at the time he was an up and coming wrestler. Now he's a really big wrestler.
We're not gonna mention that name. We won't say that.
let's just put it to you this way. He came from reality television. I
don't watch wrestling, so I have no idea.
Well, if any of your listeners are listening to this, they'll probably know who I'm talking about. He's actually the only wrestler that came from reality television.
Okay.
He was on MTV.
Now I'm gonna go Google search this afterwards.
Yeah, yeah. He was on I believe he was on The Real World.
Really?
Yeah, he was on Tough Enough, so yeah, they'll know who he is by saying that.
This guy.
He comes up, and I didn't recognize him at first, because it was just I was mainly focused on Jericho, and I was a little buzzed at the time as well, and I wanted to take a picture. And actually, the picture that I took with Jericho and this comedian named Hal Sparks, he's also an actor as well, a comedian. We took a picture together, all three of us together, and the wrestler I'm talking about took the picture for us. Okay. And again, it's on my Facebook, which is really cool. And after that was done, I recognized him because it kind of clicked. I'm like, wait a minute, I know you. You're so and so. And he's like, yeah. I was like, dude, let's take a picture. He's like, no. That moment's passed. You missed your chance on that. I was like, what?
Are you serious?
He actually said those words. He's like, no, you missed your chance, man. I was like, wow, okay, sorry, guy.
Missed chance, man. It was you, bro.
He actually said that, and I was just like dumbfounded by his attitude. Like he's a real jerk. Like he's actually a real jerk in real life. And to people, like in front, like if it was like TMZ or something like that, he's all smiles and everything. But to people, he's a real jerk. He's not a really nice person. And I'm not the only person that has actually
expressed that
or experienced that. Actually, I should say.
Right,
other people have too. I've heard from other people that he actually is a real jerk in real life.
That's
and who knows if he's changed? To be honest, I don't know if he's changed. But yeah. One other person that actually was actually a really cool guy. I was actually his intern. I could actually say that it was actually a really cool experience. I was Ryan Seacrest's intern.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I was actually his intern at Star 98.7 back when he was at Star 98.7 in Los Angeles.
That is wicked cool, bro.
He's like the nicest dude. Like Ryan Seacrest is like the nicest dude. I don't know if he's changed because it's been years. I was intern at Star 98.7 in 2001. Okay. And obviously a lot's chinged since then. He's become a multi-millionaire. 20 years
ago. Yeah, man.
Yeah. And the thing is that Ryan is like the nicest guy. It's so funny because I go by Xander Dames because Xander is my middle name. Dames is my mom's maiden name. But my actual name is David Navarro, short for Dave Navarro, which is the guitarist from Red Hot.
I was just getting ready to say, are you the guitarist? Like,
yeah, exactly. So and that's
I got a rocker on the line and I didn't even realize it.
I wish. And that's the reason why I go by Xander Dames.
Yeah,
I go by my other name, by my middle and my mom's maiden name, simply because of that. Because everybody's like, "Oh, you're Dave Navarro." But it's so funny because Ryan, when he learned about my first and last name, he actually gave me a shout out the first day of me being his intern, and the producer, her name is Tolan.
Okay.
She ran into the sound booth because I was at the time I was so focused on my job. I was answering phones and I was trying to make sure I wouldn't screw up. She runs in and he's like, turn on the radio. He's giving you a shout out. Sure enough, I was like, what? And I turned on the radio. He's like, yeah. And in the studio we have Dave Navarro. And he's here. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this guy's doing this, And he's like, he's our actual intern. And, we have an intern named Dave Navarro in the studio. That's great. I was like, thanks, I appreciate that.
Thanks for putting me out there like that, right? Good.
It was hilarious, and every time I came to work, Ryan always walked up. He's like, "Hey, Dave Navarro, how you doing?" I was like,
"That's too funny." That's too funny.
Nice guy though, really, really down to earth, really nice guy. And like I said, man, I mean, I talk about this like it's a matter of fact, but it's one of those things where I'm just like, you know what, everybody started somewhere. Like Ryan started at Star 98.7. Now look at him. He's huge. Yeah,
exactly.
And it was one of those things where I just, I don't look at it like anything, like it's anything bad. I just look at it like it's a matter of fact. I partied with David Arquette at his club Bootsy Bellows a few years ago. Also a really nice guy, really like huge partier.
Yeah.
Really cool dude is David Arquette. But yeah, man, I've done things like that. I've partied with different people like that. And it's one of those things where they're just really cool people when they're cool, but they're real assholes when they're assholes.
I bet, right? as per most people are, right? You know what I'm saying? So,
but it is what it is. Like it's not one of those things where you can change anybody. That's just who they are, and that's all part of it.
So with the few minutes that we've got left, because we got about 10, 15 minutes left, I want to talk about the Xander Effect show. Okay, is that Xander Effect podcast show? Is that the way to say it?
Yes.
I want to. Okay,
Well,
so
it's the Xander Effect.
The Xander Effect. That's what I thought. See, I thought it was the Xander Effect. So I want to talk to you about the Xander Effect. Now, did any of these life experiences that you've talked about during the last 45 minutes, 40 minutes or so, did they tie into your creation or your production of this show, or now is this in a creation entirely new, something that you wanted to do, branch out with, and go down a different path with your life?
It's a little bit of both. Because part of it, when I created the Xander Effect, I it was actually my friend Carla's idea. She's and she's an incredible cinematographer, very talented young woman. She comes up and she tells me, because the thing is, I'm looking for work, with my degree, which is really difficult because I take care of my dad too, so it's hard to find work, in my field, especially here in Los Angeles, that's oversaturated with people in that field. It's not easy to find work. So and I've been looking. So Carla, she tells me, she's like, why don't you start a YouTube show? I mean, everybody else is doing it. You have the knowledge to do it. Why don't you just start a YouTube show and just take it from there? And so I was like, you know what? That's actually a really good point. At first, the Xander Effect started as a visual show. You can actually find old episodes on YouTube of the news broadcast. And so when I started this, I was like, you know what? I want to stay away from politics. I want to stay away from what everybody else is always talking about on a daily basis. I want to keep it light. I want to keep it fun. So that's why I decided, you know what? Let me do a show that's mainly focused on entertainment, sports, and video games. 3 of my favorite topics anyway. So I started up with that, and then I realized, I'm like, you know what? I have a lot of resources at my disposal. I have a lot of, I know a lot of publicists, because I used to, have their clients go to my clubs all the time.
Right.
So, I should hit them up and see if maybe, they could do me the favor of sending me some guests. And sure enough, that was the way I did it. To be honest with you, Twizzle, I've been doing the podcast game since 2011. Okay. I started in 2011 with a show called John and Dave in LA, which you could also find on Mixcloud. Okay. And that's when I actually started the podcast game. I started in 2011, and then I would have to say I was asked to be a part of another show on internet radio on latalkradio.com.
Oh, okay.
And I was on. It was live every Wednesday. I was on a show called. I was a co-host of a show called Jenny's Real Talk on the Block, which is, that's a shout out to my friend, Jenny. Jenny, she's an awesome person. Jennifer DeVoe, an awesome broadcaster. She's on every Wednesday, I believe, at 3 p.m. Pacific time, and she plays a lot of good music. She's a real rocker. I was a co-host for a while, but I was like, you know what, I gotta do my own thing. I gotta figure things out on my own. So
you wanted to branch out. Yeah,
exactly. I branched out, and that's when I came up with the Xander Effect, thanks to my friend Carla. And it was actually really cool because I hit up a lot of my old contacts, interviewed a lot of people, a lot of really cool people, and then I bumped into my friend Quest Cross, who I've known for 15 years. And Quest, he's done a lot of big things. He's a music producer. He's an artist as well. He's signed to Sony Music. He's partnered with Sony Music. His label is partnered. His label is 50/50 Global Music Inc. Gotcha. And they're partnered with Sony Music, The Orchard, and with BMG. And when I interviewed him, he basically said, he's like, dude, man, you have a really good way of talking to people. You're a good interviewer.
Yeah. Conversationalist.
Yeah. Are you interested in maybe getting signed to Sony? I was like, are you kidding? Of course.
Yes, please.
I'm good to go. Let's do it. So he's like, yeah, for sure. So he signed me to Sony and BMG and to also 50/50. And this is back in December of last year. Yeah, and it's been, I started the Xander Effect in April. It's going to be actually a year now since I started the show, and it's been a really good run, since then. I've had a really good time with it, and I enjoy it, man. It's a fun experience, and
coolest guest that you've had on the Xander Effect.
All of them.
Really? No,
Every
no
single
one that
one.
sticks out to you. There's not that one that you was like, man, I'm really glad I was able to score that one.
No, because they all are wonderful in their own unique way.
Gotcha.
I mean, every
Very well
single one
said.
of them. Every single
Good
one of
job,
them.
Switzerland. Good job, Switzerland.
Every single one of them brought something to the show. Every
Right.
single last one of them. Every single guest that I've had, incredibly talented. Every single guest that I've interviewed, great interviews. They always brought something to the table, including yourself. Because I had you on my show as well.
Blessings.
And it's one of those things where I'm very happy to be able to like showcase a lot of these up and coming artists, actors, and they're all great. They're all great. I mean, it's shocking. Truly, it's shocking that some of them haven't gotten huge already by now.
Yeah.
Because they're very talented. You're all very talented people.
Yeah.
And
I read the list. And I was like, you know what? This is a very nice list. It's not like just a bunch of nobodies. Like there's some people on there that have quite a standing, quite a following, quite a buzz around them, right? So
yeah, and I've been very blessed, very fortunate to have been able to talk to them, and man, there's still more to come, dude. I have a lot of other guests coming up. I'm pretty much booked all this month, and I'm almost completely booked all of May as well. Like I have a lot of other episodes coming up with a lot of amazing, incredible artists. And their music, and I'm playing music now because so that's what I was saying. So I went from visual to audio.
to audio, yeah.
Well, because the thing is, I figured it was easier because editing. Trust me when I say editing by yourself, visual, it's so.
It's retarded.
God.
I hate it.
It's a pain, dude. It's a headache. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going audio anyway because at the time we got connected with a company called Art 19 Media. Yeah. And they're an awesome distribution company. They distribute your podcast to everywhere. That's why it's distributed. Thanks to Art 19, I'm distributed on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple iTunes, and a bunch of other places. Nice. And I'm like, I thought about it. I was like, you know what? It's going audio anyway. My show's going audio anyway. Why not just go ahead and just keep it audio? And turns out it was the best idea. Started adding music. I started adding music to the show and showcasing all these talented artists. Instead of just interviewing them and playing one song, I'm playing other songs. And it's almost it sounds like it's these are artists that are already famous, but they're up and coming. And with that's a really great way to describe them because they are definitely up and coming. They're amazing artists.
That's super cool. And of course, I speak not only personal knowledge, but I speak on behalf of all of them when I say, that it is excellent to be able to get on a platform that is so thorough. When I say this, with its not only distribution, but with its affiliations and connections and, just around, you're connected to Jimmy Star as well. And that right there is, that's...
Jimmy's a great guy. Jimmy's a great guy. Yeah, he's an amazing person. He definitely helps out with promoting my show. So major shout out to Jimmy. Thank you for that, Jimmy. Appreciate that. Also, my friend Kelly K, PR. Holly, also that's another one. Holly,
nice. Congrats.
With IC and they're all amazing people that have helped my show grow. All of them. Yeah. They've all helped my show grow. I wouldn't have a show pretty much, without their help. It'd be a lot difficult without their help, but with their help, it's been super easy, super great. I've had a lot of attention towards it. Also, dude, my social media is amazing because like my digital team is now like, shout out to my digital team too, because they are making incredible things for my shows.
Nice.
They're introducing video promos to the show. Nice. And they're doing an amazing job with that too. They're incredible with that. So I'm really happy about all that.
Very good. I love hearing that. You start with an idea and then you put the work into it and it slowly builds, and it slowly becomes even bigger. And the more people get involved in it, and after a while you look back and you're like, you know what? This is amazing. This is absolutely amazing to start with this little thing and to watch it grow and become this thing right here, And of course, the Xander Effect is available on all digital platforms. I assume everywhere.
Virtually,
You said Art 19 was good about that, right?
Art 19, yeah, you could go to art19media.com. You could also listen to it on Spotify, iHeartRadio. You actually could listen to the episodes on iHeartRadio the next day because there's like a day delay.
Gotcha.
But you could hear it on Apple Apple iTunes podcasts. You could hear it on there as well. Pretty soon, we're working on it. Pretty soon, you might hear me on Pandora. You never know. So we're working on something like that too. To get on there. But yeah, man, I mean, we're pretty much on all available platforms. Google Podcasts as well. You can hear it on there. God, everywhere. Just everywhere.
Yeah.
They
Future plans. Future plans?
Just keep doing what I'm doing, man. Just
The
future plans is just the dream and the hope for every broadcaster is to make it to XM satellite or Sirius. That's the goal. That's the goal, is to get there. I mean, I'm also a writer and I'm a director. I've written like 24 scripts.
Nice.
Yeah, man, I've written a lot. A few of my scripts are actually circulating in the festival circuit. There are thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. There 5 of them are in the Page International Film Festival. 2 of them are in the Nichols Film Festival that's ran by the Oscars, and 4 of them are in the Austin Film Festival currently. So we'll see. We'll see
success on all of them, man.
Thanks, man. We'll see what happens. Like I said, it's one of those things where I've been. Thanks to my mom. My mom, she was the one that gave me the gift of having an imagination. My mom, she was an incredible storyteller. She would tell us stories, and we would just, like myself and my dad, and we just sit there and just listen to it, to her tell us the story. And it was amazing to have her. It was amazing to have her, and I miss her every day. But thanks to her, I was able to have the imagination that I have today.
That's so awesome. That's so freaking awesome, man. Well said. I love the way that you're able to verbalize your entire life. A lot of people, they have struggles in being able to express incidences or things or how things came to be or so on and so forth. And you're very fluid with it. You're very easy with it. You lay it all down very simple. People can understand it. They walk along with you in what you're saying, and they can understand and see it. And I love that. I think it's amazing. And I think that that's why the Xander effect does so well, is because you bring these people in and you're able to walk with them, visualizing and being able to help your listeners visualize what it is they're saying too. So congrats, man. I didn't know all of this before coming into this show. So to hear some of this and to hear what you've been through on some of this is actually commendable and very, like, you deserve a round of applause for stepping up and not falling to the wayside. You have a lot of reasons, a lot of excuses to be like, you know what, man, whatever's whatever. And you didn't let any single one of them get to you. You always kept doing what you needed to do to get to the next step. And that right there is a that's something that's lost on society. People don't understand that anymore. They think everything should be just handed to them anymore.
It's crazy. I survived the LA riots, been through that as well.
Yeah, right.
I've survived a lot of things. And it was crazy because my mom, she was afraid for me when she was dying, and I'm an only child, so all this fell on me. Everything. I was in school. While I was in school getting my degree with honors, I was taking care of 2 sick people, and I was able to do all this as an only child, and I still continue to do it. And my mom, she was scared. She thought I was gonna, because as
collapse,
close to her,
give in, something,
commit suicide. And
something,
I told her, I told her, I was like, Mom, you never have to worry about me committing suicide or anything like that, because I would not destroy your legacy by me doing something so horrible, because that would be an insult.
Right.
That would be an insult
in the face to everything you did.
Exactly. That would be spitting on your legacy, on you, on the way you raised me. So you don't ever have to worry about that. I'm going to keep going. Until we meet again. That's just the way it is.
We all know that she's definitely proud. I mean, you see it in the way that you radiate. You radiate as being someone who knows he's doing the right thing, someone who knows he's got this. You know what I mean? And that right there is what she raised. So congrats, bro. Congrats. Thanks. This was a great interview. I enjoyed learning your life. That was very Very thoughtful and thought provoking. I loved it. Now, before we go real quick, man, is there any links that you want to shoot out? Is there any opportunities you want to give people to connect with you? Maybe even stream, subscribe, that whole little 5-minute spiel that people are allowed to give, letting everybody know where to go.
I've got nothing. I'm just playing.
He's like, man,
I feel like the first person not to have anything.
Wouldn't that be strange, though? I mean, like, yeah, you would definitely catch me off guard. I'd be like, are you serious?
No, that'd be really weird. No, my digital team would be like, are you crazy? What's the matter with you? Actually, you could definitely catch me on Instagram, Xander Dames 1. That's XanderDames and the number 1. I also have the Xander Effect podcast, so that's also on Instagram. Xander Dames 1 on Twitter as well. On Facebook, just look for Xander Dames. You'll see my face on there. And I do want to go ahead and say one thing I'm doing right now for the current crisis. I'm actually doing I'm trying to trend this hashtag called AW Movement, hashtag AW Movement. And AW stands for Applaud Workers, because there are essential workers out there that are risking their health, the health of their families. And, they're risking everything to make sure that they provide for us all the services that we need. Grocery workers, truck drivers, first responders, delivery people. All these people are putting their lives on the line for us to go ahead and continue to provide services for us. So what I'm asking people to do is get on their social media and applaud. I challenge you, Twism. I challenge, everybody to get on their social media, video themselves applauding and saying thank you and hashtagging AW Movement, and just thanking all these essential workers for everything they're doing for us, because God knows that they're doing a lot and they're risking so much. There was a bus driver that was providing public transportation. A woman coughed on him and he got infected. He passed away. Yep. There are doctors, there are nurses that are becoming infected as well. They're putting their lives on the line to keep us alive. So major props to them.
Long enough to find a vaccine, at least. I mean, these people are really, really putting it all on there. So
exactly. So I challenge everybody to just do something very simple and just give them a round of applause. Clap your hands, round of applause for these people. That's all I ask.
We can do that. That's easily enough done. Don't worry about that.
People are doing these TikTok videos. You could take a minute to go ahead and, show your appreciation. It doesn't take that long.
Yep. You got it. That is well said. And, if people can't do it, then they must have something against applauding workers. Yeah. I mean, because if it's a simple thing that takes about 30 seconds to do, then everybody should be able to do it. So
exactly. Like I said, you could go ahead and take a minute, to go ahead and really do a TikTok video and really, put your time and effort on some dumb TikTok video,
then you can definitely do.
Exactly.
Thank you.
30 seconds. It's not that difficult.
Yep, exactly. All right, Xander, blessings to you, man. And of course, this show was brought to you in association with the Anything Goes Project, the Big Rich and Lil Lisa show, World Star PR, and of course, FCR 247. Find out more by visiting our website, www.fcr247.com. Make sure to stay tuned to the Xander Effect on all digital platforms so that you can catch the newest editions whenever they drop. And of course, Xander, on behalf of FCR 247, myself, and everybody that's going to be listening to this interview, we thank you so very much for taking your time out and wish you the very best for 2020 and very much a lot of safety and health during this COVID-19 pandemic. You dig?
Thanks, man. I appreciate the opportunity. Very humbled to be a part of FCR, man. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. You're an awesome host, Wisdom, and I wish you the best as well in 2020. And you and your family also stay safe. Everybody else also, please practice general hygiene. Make sure you wear your gloves, masks, goggles if you got them. Please be safe. Stay in for those that you love, and like. At the end of my show, I always say this every single time. And remember, music always, always heals all.
There you go.
You're listening to Fat Cat Radio, a family of hosts playing the best local music, raising the bar one note at a time.